Okay, good morning, everyone. Uh, no daylight today, so we appreciate everybody starting off early with us. Welcome to our PMI Montgomery County chapter summer virtual education day for this spring summer season. We know in the past, pre-pandemic, we offered an in-person session at Montgomery College or Universities of Shady Grove. We do hope to get back to that, but this year it was if we're going to do something in the summer, we'd have to do it virtually. But it's great to see 50 people with us to kick off this morning, and then hopefully another 100 to join throughout the day. All of you should have received email yesterday afternoon with the agenda for today, as well as the two sessions that'll be interactive. That'll be our 10 o'clock session and our 1 o'clock session. So if you're multitasking or have meetings, probably good to drop and rejoin us after those for the purpose of breakout room ratios and things like that. Our theme for today is pivoting your purpose. Montgomery County has been hit hard so far this year with the mass Marriott layoffs to start the year. And then, as seen in the news for the whole state of Maryland, there's been the most removals from the federal government in the history of the state. So regardless of what political hat you wear, the federal government hasn't been downsized in this manner in our lifetimes. So jury will be out to see what the efficiency studies say, and maybe this could be for the better, but at least right now, some of us are in questioning what our purpose is in the workforce and potential pivots to make ourselves more marketable. So hopefully by the end of today's session, you'll be in a position to be motivated to at least look kind of at the drawing board and then potentially make a pivot of your own. And of course, the chapter's here as a resource for you. As you go through that, if we can't answer the question, we have 2,000 members 2,000 members strong to find a good resource and an expert to help you with your journey. So we're looking forward to a great day. All these sessions will be recorded on our YouTube channel, broken into the individual presentations to ease that. So our board of officers takes a village. I'm joined by 7 of the brightest and best minds to help me in my role as the president. So we'll be introducing them throughout the day, but we'll kick off with our Vice President of Special Programs and Projects, Mr. Jim Stuckle.
Well, thank you, Matt. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you today our first speaker, Carl Pritchard. If you do not know about Mr. Pritchard, I'll give you a brief intro. He is globally recognized as an author, a lecturer, researcher, teacher, instructor in the project management profession. He's written several textbooks on the subject. He's developed PMP certification exam prep tools, which I personally am very grateful for. And he has also written countless thought leadership publications for PMI or within PMI type publications. I want to just summarize Carl's publications and his efforts at making presentations interesting, fun, and of course, honest and rigorous. Mr. Pritchard has been a frequent presenter at our Montgomery County chapter of PMI. In fact, I think he's been the most presenting presenter of any speaker in our chapter's history. Therefore, and one additional thing. Besides his rigor and his energies and his willingness to be with us when we have asked, Mr. Pritchard is just a deep friend of this chapter, and we will always honor him for that. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. Carl Pritchard.
Thank you so much. And today we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is imposter syndrome. Yeah, imposter syndrome. We all suffer from this. I have had every job known to humankind. I was a meat carver. I was an imposter. I was a cook. I was an imposter. I was a resident advisor in the dorms. I was a camp counselor. I was, oh my gosh, I was in radio. And in every single one of these jobs, I was an imposter. Now, granted, over time, it took a while before I even realized I was an imposter. And and this is a question for you. How old were you when you realized, oh my gosh, I am frozen in time? For me, it was in the late 70s. Yeah. And I was in my early 20s. I've come to the realization that's kind of where I'm frozen in time. And the reason that is because at some point in your life, you actually think, this is the adult me. This is who I am. And when you stamp that version of yourself, from there on out, you are wearing a mask. Yeah, you are. You've got some kind of mask on you for every other job you're holding, and you really start suffering from imposter syndrome. And our job today is to actually get you to overcome imposter syndrome. It really is. Now, and Catherine, I'll ask you, because you're the only camera I'm seeing right now. So I will ask you to do me a favor. And if you are seeing my title slide, just give me a thumbs up. Cool. Okay. Just affirming the AV technology. That said, you can overcome that sense of, oh my gosh, I'm not legitimate in doing this job. I got my degree at the Ohio State University in journalism. Found out when I got my first job in journalism as news director, and you're going to love the name of this radio station, WSME, the SME. Oh yeah, subject matter expert. There you go. Yeah, I was working at the SME, and what was interesting was I found out everything they had taught me at the Ohio State University was useless. I really needed to know how to be a radio guy, but I had to fake it long enough to actually stop being an imposter. So these are the steps that it takes to actually cope with that window of time when you're not really that person. You got hired for the job, you got drafted in, and you're looking at yourself going, I landed this gig. I'm doomed. And because you're looking at it going, somebody is going to realize I am not that individual. And we're going to look at the different steps as to how you cope with it and get through it, and then how you get beyond being an imposter. How do you actually get past that? The term imposter syndrome was actually popularized by these guys, Clamps and Imes. Clamps and Imes. Kind of an interesting little cadre of folks. And let me push the chat up here so I can see it, because I'm going to ask you a relatively, I think, simple question, which is, who do you trust? In your universe, Who do you trust? And this is not a rhetorical question. Based on, just the way they act, the way they feel, who knows you and who do you look at and say, yeah, anything she tells me, that's legit. Who do you know? Who can you trust? Now, I am going to do a follow-on question here in a minute, but I just need 2 or 3 of you to contribute that in the chat. I just need you to contribute that in the chat, if you would. Oh, okay. So it's Mary's BFF. A former supervisor. That's a good one. Oh, and depending upon your pronunciation, aunt. Okay, let's go there. My mentor, my right hand at work, my mom. Yeah, there you go. We'll leave it at that one. That's like the best possible answer. You got to love those because as you look at those, as you look at that little list, your work buddy. My work buddy is my lovely wife, Nancy, a goddess to be worshipped. Yeah, but you look at this and it's a matter of these are people who can tell you, just so you know, Lauren, I think it looks like you're faking it. These are people who would be honest about that. These are people who would actually say to you, hey, yeah, you have a problem. You genuinely do. But as you look at the list, too, these are the ones who can tell you, no, you're coming across as genuine. You're coming across as legit. Do not denigrate yourself in any way, shape, or form because you're it. Yeah, I was in radio for 10 years before I got into project management. The job transition is a presentation for another day, but I made the migration from radio to project management. When I got hired as a project manager, I was still defining what project manager is. Oh, that's my first tip today. Anytime you identify yourself as an imposter, feigning to be someone you're really, really not, anytime you're in that boat, just so you know, anytime you do, you need to make sure you validate your feelings, your expectations, your interactions. You want to make sure that other people know. Because, people say things to you and you look at them and go, "Aw, shucks." Yeah. People say these things to you. They genuinely do. They'll look at you and say, "Hey, you look great today." What's our response? Oh, imposters. What do we say? Somebody says, "Wow, you look great today." How do you respond? A lot of us are, "Oh, I didn't realize I left my camera on there. Oh, yeah, I got rid of that." Yeah, that's one possibility. Some of us actually just, "Oh, shucks, no, not me." The reality is people say stuff like this to us in emails, in conversations, phone calls, all the time. They do. Yeah, Mary, it is very hard to accept compliments. It's challenging. It's daunting. Why? Because somebody's looking at us and saying, wow. Now, Catherine takes a different tack. She said, "Thank you." Yeah, 2 words. Thank you. It's very hard to do that because it tends to lead to the "aw shucks" moment. Aw shucks. Yeah, it is a much better response. A simple thank you. And a lot of times we're tempted to modify the thank you. Thank you, but I can't do a thing with my hair. Look at this gray mass up here. Yeah, fortunately, I still have a little, but it's that. No, we should not take them down a peg. We should not. When you just simply say, "Wow, thank you." End of story. That's it. You have just validated their communication to you. And at the same time, you have not denigrated yourself. And we'll talk later about the fact that now you need to go home, send yourself an email saying, hey, today they said I look good. I looked healthy. It's funny. Many of you are aware, and I actually wrote the book. It's here somewhere. Anyhow, I wrote the book, The Stage 4 Cancer Project. That's my latest thing, is dealing with the medical community until I'm just blue in the face. But what's been intriguing about this is I have gone from where I pretty much was at death's door to where I am now. And in the course of that, along the way, people would say to me, Carl, you look good. And that became something more than just an average kind of, oh, hi, you look good. No, that actually took on a whole new meaning for me. It really genuinely did. And I learned the value of thank you. I really did. When somebody actually looks at you and says a kindness, they say something just positive about you. They say, hey, you helped me out so much. I couldn't have done it without you. A million thoughts churning through your head of how you can minimize that. Instead, thanks. Yeah, thank you. As soon as you do that, you are acknowledging achievement. You are. You have arrived. I love it when well, this is the egomaniac in me. I love it when they do my introduction, I really do. And the reason being is because invariably they're talking about, and he's been here and he's been there and he's done this and he's done that and he's written 10 books, and they go through the whole laundry list of stuff. And it's kind of like me, also me. Yeah. But as they go through it, one of the big important things for me to remember is people look at your accomplishments. They look at you and they go, wow, Janet, you're amazing. You really are. And they'll cite something you have done that other people would look at and say, that's actually a very big deal. It is. You've accomplished stuff. Some of you have actually, in your gifted and talented program, you have, in the course of your life, you've earned degrees, certifications, patents, awards. By the way, this is the big one. This is the PMI Oscar. I want you to know what it looks like. Yeah. But you've gotten these things, and you've collected all the little crystal spikes that are sitting on your shelf, and you've got them all. And even then, you don't necessarily look at yourself as being special. Everything your mother ever told you, Karen, you're special. Yeah. When mom said that, she was right. Just say, I'm validating your mother for you now. Come on. This is a good thing. But every time you're getting a compliment, we need to acknowledge that as what it is. It's an achievement. It's crossing the finish line. You've done something others could not do. And something noteworthy about doing things others can't do. It doesn't have to be big stuff. Lowell Schloniger, there's a name for you. Lowell was my first big boss. I was a dishwasher at the Country Corner restaurant in Columbiana, Ohio. Yep. Lowell Schloniger. Even as a dishwasher, you can feel like an imposter. It's amazing. Doesn't matter what your job is, you could still feel like, wow, they're going to realize I can't do this job for squat. I ran into Lowell Schloniger about, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I ran into him. He's much older. I'm not, thank heavens. But I ran into Lowell, and I looked up and I said, oh my gosh, as I live and breathe, Lowell Schloniger. And he goes, oh, Carl Pritchard. And I said, wow, you remember, I'm very impressed. I really am. And he goes, no, no, no. How could I forget? You were the best dishwasher we ever had. Yes, victory is mine. Now you might think, Carl, he just called you a great dishwasher. You know, you might think that's not a huge compliment, but from somebody as insecure as I am, I got to tell you, that was a moment. I will carry that with me to the grave. I really genuinely will. When somebody pays you a compliment, you should not wipe it wipe it clean. You need to capture it. You need to document it. You need to make notes. You need to send yourself that email that says, "Hey, this is the day Lowell Schloniger told you you were the best dishwasher on earth some 35 years later." Wow. That's pretty amazing. We need to be the ones who recognize that we do leave a lasting impact. And you do it in strange ways. Sometimes it's just holding somebody's hand, telling them, hey, this is all going to work out. You are not going to get sacked. And if you do get sacked, it'll be with a couple dozen other people. It's not going to be you flying solo. It isn't because you're bad. Yeah, exactly. Mary put it very eloquently in the chat. She said it's a great idea to collect and record compliments. You pull them out when you're feeling imposter like. Now, take a look. Some of you have been following along in the chat, and what I'd like you to do is to take a look at the name of the other people on the call, or look at the participants list or the gallery, as it were. But just take a look at some of these people, and as you look down that laundry list, and early on, Jim pointed out that I hang around with PMI crowd way too much. And as you look down the list, there are people who have earned patents. There are people who have been in the business for 20, 30 years. Wow. Yeah. Oh, Catherine, well said. Yeah, we do need to compliment those around us. But you know these people. And somebody has done you a kindness out of that laundry list of attendees. Somebody, I don't care if it was Matt actually sending you the reminder email, or Karen for actually turning on her camera. Yeah, that was a nice thing, just so you know. But it is important to acknowledge what people do and catch them doing good. Because when you tell them they're doing something right, and let me explain why turning on your camera on a Zoom call actually matters. Albert Morabian is a communications theorist, and he said, you want people to like you and like your message? The likability of your message is first and foremost driven by you, your look, not your tone, not the words you choose, you. Because as you look, and now look at Jane, look at Karen, look at Catherine. Yeah. As you look at these people, do you know what? They are more likable than all the laundry list of names that's below them. They are. They're more likable. Why? Because you look at them and, oh, Catherine kind of sort of reminds me of my Aunt Clara. Yeah, she's got kind of that Aunt Clara feel to her. She looks a little like that. And they've got, oh, sorry, Mary's making me dizzy. But she's got kind of that look or feel. And Morabian said that's why we like people's messages more when we can see them. So, and I said at the outset, it was kind of noteworthy that some people have a picture, and Demetria being one of them. And Aunt Clara was the cool aunt. She was. But Demetria doesn't have her camera on, but she does have her picture. her official corporate headshot. And that's actually a good thing. That's better than just leaving your name hanging up there. No matter how flashy your name may be, it's much better to actually have an image. The image matters. And it's a way to actually be less humble. And humility is tough. But it's a way to actually be humble without necessarily being caught live. Now, see, there's a challenge here. My camera's live. You get caught doing everything you're doing. You get kind of trapped in it. And let me slide this down here. Somebody put a nice chat in there. And of course, it blipped on past. Stand by. I may never see that message. We also actively capture kudos for our team members. Oh, amen. That's a brilliant idea. Yeah, David, that makes you the sharpest knife in the drawer. It really does. And again, it's a matter of identifying when people are doing stuff right. Now, you're doing it for others. Oh, you can do it for yourself. You can. You can actually do that. My lovely wife, Nancy, will frequently come to me and go, "What are you moaning about?" And I'll say, "Well, and I'll whine about something." And Nan will say, "You wrote a book on the subject. Get over yourself." And it's kind of like, "Well, yeah, but," and she goes, "Don't yeah, but me." And this is why we've been married for 40 plus years. Yeah, it's a matter of you've got to give yourself the credit where it's due. You really genuinely do. That's vital. That's really, really important. So, is there anything positive you can say about anybody else on the call? If you know them, if you're allied with them, except me. Pick anybody else on the call that you happen to know. Is there anything nice you can say about any of them? One positive thing. Oh, there you go. Matt, working like a dog. Yeah, Matt is awesome. Yeah, he sends out more email than he has to, but he's awesome. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly. Oh, there are a lot of systems to do that now. Oh, it's a great idea. I also use paper note cards, HR. After finding a note card I gave them once upon a time, paper is a thing. Oh, somebody was complimenting Carol for her great sense of humor. And we have everybody is like, Matt. Yeah. You should be sucking this all in, Matt. You should be printing out the chat. Cut, paste. Yeah. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. I really do. Oh, Brendan, and Demetria. There you go. We may never know what they did, but they did something positive. It's a function of making sure that those around us know that they're doing good things for us. And when we tell them that, we actually build up ourselves. We go a lot further. We really genuinely do. We become the conquering hero. This is Caesar. Yeah, that's Caesar. Out in front of the British Museum, in case you're wondering, where is Caesar? Yeah, that's Caesar. I haven't been to London in so long. I love London. But that's Caesar out in front of the British Museum. And think about it. Think about that look, that noble posture. All that's going for Caesar. Do you think Caesar had any trouble taking a compliment?
I don't think so.
No, I don't believe it at all. I think for sure here's the conquering hero. And when somebody said, "Hey, Caesar, just so you know, You are the best. Thank you. Or he might have even said, yeah, I know. That's a distinct possibility. But beware the things in the right-hand column. The right-hand column is certain death for your ego. Really is. Oh, not really. Well, that'd be nice. Yeah. Just shoot me now. We need to be the ones who are willing to embrace just what we do and how good we are at our craft. A lot of you are here for a very simple reason. You're here to suck up PDUs. Yeah, I know that. You know that. You need them. Yeah, because it all runs out in December for you. Yeah, but you're here trying to get your PDUs. And in the process of doing so, that means that you actually have your PMP. You earned your PMP. Does that really matter anymore? There's so many certifications. Does a PMP really matter? And the correct answer is yeah. Yeah. Oh, trust me, PMI has come up with 10,000 micro certificates. But yeah, and Mary, you should hope so, and you would be right in hoping so, because the reality is that, for you, for Francie, it matters. It matters. I get enough traffic from people who are, and it's interesting. Matt said it's the equivalent of a high school diploma in the workforce, but it still matters. It's something to be proud of and to strive for. Actually, I disagree with you, Matt. I think it's more the equivalent of a bachelor's degree. I think it's the next step up. I think it's something that people look at and they say, wow, you actually chased and got that. And I will lay odds here. I'll be Matt's psychic friend. Hold on. Reaching out. Matt, I bet you've had your PMP for more than 10 years.
You are correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't try this at home. This man's a professional.
Summer, so I'm actually my 10-year anniversary was last month, I believe.
Yeah. But here's the thing. After 10 years, if you've been doing something and doing it well for 10 years, you forget that not everybody could pull this off. I got to tell you, the people who get in touch with me and say, hey, I really need to get my PMP. And I'll tell them, it's not impossible. It's not that daunting. You can pull this off. You can make this happen. And I'll give them a roadmap to kind of get there. What's fascinating about that is, to them, that's Everest. That's way up there. There it is. Yeah, it's seemingly unachievable. And they'll say, geez, Gene, how did you get your PMP? It's like, well, I took it in the dark ages when it was an 8-hour exam. Ooh, it was, Yeah. Some of us got the PMP back in when dinosaurs still walked the earth. Yeah, I'm PMP number 1049. How sad is that? But it goes to that point. It goes to, over time, I've been a PMP for 30 plus years, 33 to be exact. For 33 years, I've been a PMP, and you start thinking, well, that's not really a big deal. It's a very big deal. Matters to Mary's customers. And what does a PMP mean to you? Hey, means I followed a rigorous path of study. Yeah, I went down the road. We need to not discount our achievements. Lowell Schloniger reminded me of that big time, because as a dishwasher, I was looking at it going, yeah, whatever. But the kicker is, when he told me I was the best dishwasher he'd ever had, when I even remembered my name after 40 years, I had to look at it and, wow, I didn't realize there were bad dishwashers. There are. I'm not one of them. Yeah. Matt asked the question, do you feel the talent triangle keeps PMPs fresh? I don't think it hurts us because some of us want to steer clear of the touchy feely kind of courses and stuff like that. And we go there strictly because they're required to renew our PMP. Some of us, world of work kind of stuff, I don't want to learn how to make a new schedule. Well, you should know what they're doing nowadays just because you need to keep it fresh. You need to keep a log. Here's what I have achieved. Here's what I have done. You do. You need to keep history. Because if you had a meeting with Claire, thank you for turning on the camera. But you have a meeting with Claire and it goes really, really well. Now is the time to write yourself an email, send yourself a note that says, hey, this was the day. I had the meeting with Claire and things went really well. We spent 5 minutes talking about her cats and 55 minutes talking about work. But it was the cat talk that really brought us together. Okay, cool. The fact of the matter is, you now have a history. You have something you can go back to. Yeah, and Mary said, no matter what job or task you do, have a good attitude and doing your best. Yeah, doesn't matter if you're a dishwasher, project manager, meat carver. Let's not forget that one. Yeah, but Mrs. Brown was an evil boss, and we won't get into that. Yeah. Think about too, when things go well, not just in your work life, but in your home life. Yeah, when we moved out here to the boondocks, for those of you who don't know, I live in the boondocks now. I live on top of Haystack Mountain outside Cumberland. Yeah. Yeah, I live in the boonies. As you're driving by on 68 and you see the sign that says LaVale, you're headed for Deep Creek. Good for you. Yeah, but you're zipping along on I-68. When you see the LaVale exit, you're 3 minutes from my house. But the thing is, thanks to COVID, I had no reason to stay down in the city area because almost all my client work is virtual. And it's an amazing opportunity to get close to family, to be close to just about everything I value, and at the same time, still do this, still do the work that I do. Also, if you find out that somebody really, and I had a woman at church the other day, I was wearing this shirt, in fact. She walked up to me after church and she said, Carl, I gotta tell you, purple is your color. And I was like, I didn't even think about it, really. And she said, no, really, that is you. I said, wow, thank you. But it's notable. I don't even think about, gee, will they appreciate the way I dress? Somebody did. I made a note of that. Purple is my color. Next time I do a gig, I'm going to wear purple. Oh, here we are. Yeah, it works just like that. Thank you. Mary's also complimenting me on my color choice. Also, even if you don't think you have anything to catalog, you need to check in on your personal logs now and then. One, for a review, just to go back 6 months, a year, and just look over. You know, I've done a lot this year. Yeah. It's funny. I was getting worried that my books were getting a little stale. I published my first book in 1993. And yeah, I know some of you are like, I wasn't even born yet. Yeah. But that notwithstanding, I went back and I was reviewing things and realized I hadn't written a book in 8 years. So, and this goes back to doing things you don't know others can do. So I wrote 2 this year. I'm back up to date now. It's all good. Yeah. One is the RMP prep book for Pearson. So for Pearson Education, if you're thinking about going for the RMP, yeah, that's where to check. But that notwithstanding, we need to go back and review at regular intervals our accomplishments. What have we done? When Matt threw up on the slide, or Jim did, one of them did, they threw up on the slide that I have been the big presenter, that I've been harassing you folks, and you found out the jokes don't change for 11 different presentations. I didn't know that. Believe me, I'll be making a note of that after we're done here. I will. It's kind of like, wow, I didn't realize that. Booyah. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, we don't take time to reflect. We need to take the time to reflect and set your interval, and then compare it with that person you trust. Maybe when I asked you early on, I said, who do you trust? If you talk to them the next time you see them, say, I realized it's probably been 2, maybe even 3 years since I told you this. But do you remember when you helped me with? Do you remember when I said to you, I need, and you jumped on it? Any of those kinds of things, it's a win for both of you. Because for one, you're reflecting on things that have advanced your career. For two, you're advancing on just what they have done for you. You're shaking hands. You're giving them the stroke. You're giving them everything they need at the same time as you're getting back. Set your interval. Compare it with a neighbor. And I don't care if it's every 6 weeks, every 6 days, every 6 months, but set an interval to go back and just 5 minutes of, I am not an imposter. I am not an imposter. I am legit. I am that person. I really, genuinely am. And don't forget the details. Lowell Schloniger. Where I ran into him was a restaurant called Das Dutch Inn in Columbiana, Ohio. That's where I ran into him. He got rid of the country corner and he built Das Dutch Inn. And I ran into them and I made notes. I ran into Lowell. He's old. Yeah, he was officially then an old guy. But I also made notes ran into him at Das Dutch Inn. Made it a point to stay there to eat and to revel in the fact that he was still the same guy he was 45, 50 years ago. Pretty amazing. The beauty of it is a piece of paper, an email, means that you never forget. Kindnesses. And it's funny, you may not remember names. You may not remember details if you don't write it down. But you see faces. When Catherine's face popped up in the chat or in the video, I was like, oh, Catherine. Yeah, it was like everything just fell into place. It was perfect that way. How do I know her? Why do I know her? Because she's suffered through these before. Yeah, she has been down this road. Now, a lot of you are dealing with the wrestling match of, I can't get a job, or I just lost my job. I've gone there and I have to pivot big time. Well, fine. Let's start writing the sequel. You've got you, and that's the you from birth to now. And now you've got you, the sequel. A lot of times they'll say, sequel is never as good as the original. I would contend Godfather 2. Yeah. There are sequels that are amazing. They really genuinely are. You get to write the sequel. And in writing the sequel, here's where I want to be. Here's who I want to be. Unfortunately, though, I know I'm an imposter. And I realize that. Yeah, exactly. And Janet wrote, sequels can be liberating. They do. They start giving you that sense of, here's where I'm going now. I had been in radio for almost 10 years, and my wife and I were struggling financially. We really genuinely were. And I found out, radio doesn't pay bills. Really doesn't. Project management pays bills. It can. It genuinely can. But the point being that we need to actually recognize, Bill said, I'm going to call my sequel You Too. Yeah. Yeah. Bill's doing a trilogy here. But when you're writing the sequel, go ahead and write yourself a little blurb on, here's where I see myself, time period from now, a year from now, 6 months from now. Go ahead and write the end of that story. Write the end, the happy ending, by the way, not the grisly, grimy one where everybody's in sorrow, not the Notebook kind of ending. You want an ending where everybody's walking away going, yes, that's your ending. And you need to write it. You physically need to write it. Because then you're actually enabling and shutting down your non-imposter. Oh, the awards. You've got them. Some of you are in your office right now. All right. You know what you have around your office? Stuff. You have things. Oh, someplace here, I've got a whole little dish full of challenge coins. Yeah. You've got the trophies. I walked into one guy's office, and on his wall, he had the challenge coin case. It was just a bunch of little racks that held a bunch of challenge coins. For those of you who don't know what a challenge coin is, it's an acknowledgement of a meaningful achievement. That's basically it. And he had a rack that had just an almost seemingly infinite supply of challenge coins. And I looked at that and I said, wow. I said, that's pretty impressive. And he said, well, it's there to remind me. He had the right attitude. Now think about yourself. You've done something that others could not pull off. You have. Yeah. And it might be a family thing. It's funny. I could not love any woman more than I love my wife, Nancy. I really couldn't. It would be impossible. And what's notable about that is I realize not everybody can say that about their significant other. The fact that I have a significant other that is that downright lovable is kind of like, sweet. I'm a winner. And not everybody can say that. That's something that makes me, as a husband, I am not an imposter. No. I'm doing the job. I'm acting on what's required. And I got to remember, not everybody is that way. We actually have, as acquaintances, a couple of people whose marriages are extraordinarily rocky because they keep fooling around with their wives. And every time I hear that, I'm like, moron, what are you doing? Jeez. And you think about it, they spend part of their lives as imposters, real imposters. And then I start thinking about when I start doubting myself as a husband, it's like, nope, no, you don't get to 40 years without doing something that is legit and right and appropriate. At work, some of you made it to 25 years and then got slid off your gig. It's time to look and say, you know what I accomplished in those years with insert your agency here? Yeah. Start cataloging all of it, not just the resume stuff. Because when somebody says, so what did you do while you were at HHS or whatever? And you get to say, some of the most wonderful things that I got to do were I got to help and drop names. I got to help Claire. I did. I got to sit down with her, and she was one of my coworkers, and we went over this, that, and the other thing. And I really feel like I helped her stay in her job and advance her career. That was probably the most meaningful, because they're looking for you to say, I finished this project, I finished that project, I did this, I did that. No, don't forget, you're talking to them about what have you done that's, well, amazing. And you can do that because you're not an imposter. You have. You looked at Jane and said, Jane, I'm going to help you. I'm sorry. Jane, question. Is it Jane or John? John?
Gene.
Gene. Okay, I was
Yeah.
right the first time. Just making sure. I found out one time that I completely screwed that up for an entire presentation, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, great. Patricia has a great suggestion. Write your own recommendation letter and write them for others. Go ahead and say, hey, could you write a letter of recommendation for me? Sure. What would you like me to say? Oh, I've got a copy. I'll email it to you. Stand by. Yeah, that's brilliant. That's a really good idea. And yeah, it all works in our favor. It does. But it's a matter of you need to remind others of what they're doing for you. In the course of doing so, you lose a lot of the imposter stuff. I have people call me and contact me about risk quite a bit. Why? Because I'm, well, the risk guy. That's the voodoo I do. And quite frankly, as you help others out, other people are trying to pivot right now. And you might say, oh, great. I'm drowning and I'm going to hand somebody else the anchor I'm holding on to. It's like, no. If you're drowning, two people can not drown better than one. You really can. You can actually work for their betterment in the course of helping out somebody else, in the course of helping out Mary, in the course of helping out those around us. One of the things we can do is help others. If you look down the laundry list of people on this call, if any of them are currently in the marketplace.
The money got the fidelity for the.
I'm sorry? Oh, he came, he went. Okay. But if you know, when you start helping out others, you start going, oh, yeah, that's what I did. And I haven't done that in a long time. I should be doing more of that. You remind yourself of your own best traits. And you do have best traits. You really do. I can proudly say I know specifically of two project management companies that I never worked for. Well, one I worked for once, but that I rarely worked for, and that have gone out and launched, hired people, had careers that have taken them globally. And it all started with a sit down in my living room. I helped them out. And you might say, what'd you get out of the deal? I got everything out of the deal. I really did. Because every time I see them succeed, it's a reminder of, oh, I should do that. I used to do that. I should do that now. I'm not an imposter. I'm just stale. I need to get fresh. For those of you who are looking for new jobs, it's time to get fresh. It's an opportunity to, hey, if you can't come up with the right game plan, trust me, the person next to you on the list of attendees, they can. Yeah. You can help each other out. You can leverage that. And the moment you start thinking you're an imposter, just a reminder, you need to affirm that you're not. That's very hard to do. If you haven't gone there already, certify. In what, Carl? I've already got my PMP. Fine. Takes 2 weeks. Become a certified Scrum Master while you're off. Carl, that's not a PMI thing. I know. It's okay. Not every certificate has to come from PMI. Go ahead, get your CSM. Get an AI certificate. That's hot right now. But pick your poison. Do something to keep the ball rolling. And if the ball isn't moving at all, move it for somebody else. That's the plan. Now, if you need some help ball rolling, there you go. That's my data. That's my real email address. That's my real cell phone number. Got it around here somewhere. It's on mute. Yeah. Hold it. That is this cell phone. Yeah. If I can be of service, holler. If you need a project management shoulder to cry on, there you go. Now you've got one. The key is to make sure that you are not just foundering on your own. There are others. The person next to you on the list, yeah, they are your best friend. Yeah. I once worked at a place where I only got negative feedback. Sometimes it was public. No one should ever do what X did. No recognition for successes. Yeah, that's insanely toxic. We should do the opposite of that. And there you go. You can get PMI certifications on just ad nauseum. And that's really just the way we ought to be going. Ought to be looking at not who am I now, it's who can I be tomorrow. With that, Matt, where are you here? Matt,
I'm going to take a couple questions. I think we have time.
Most people expect you to do good. How do you solicit positive feedback without looking needy? Well, I am needy, but that notwithstanding, you want to get good feedback? Ask somebody for help. Ask them for help. Don't ask them for feedback. Don't just ask them for help. Say, I'm putting together my new resume and I'm really trying to make sure I get all my good traits across. What would you put down if you were me in terms of the things that I do and that really stand out? That's a way of making it not sound needy. It's just like, I just need some feedback, something to put in the resume. And that's really very important because, frankly, it's all a matter of, it's you being confident in yourself. Matt asked the question. He said, do you think an IT PM can pivot to construction in the middle of their career? Absolutely. But for that, you're going to need something to pivot on. And that pivot might be like the PMP certification. I work with a construction company in Grantsville, Maryland. They're a multi-billion-dollar construction company in the middle of flipping nowhere. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. And their problem, they can't find talent. Why? Because Grantsville's cold and foggy and on top of a mountain and geez. Yeah, it's a challenge. Oh, you might struggle with $700 for a new certification. Fine. Then go ahead and do the dance for the certification without getting the certification. Go ahead and learn everything you need to know. Learning doesn't cost you a cent. And you can go ahead and do that. And it's very easy to say, look, if somebody says, do you have your CSM? No, I don't. However, and here's the other alternative for those of you who are really insanely ambitious. Do you have something to prove you're really a risk person? No, but I wrote the book. Oh, sweet. Yeah, write a book. I'm serious. Yeah, it's not as hard as you might think. Any of you need coaching on that? I'm the cost of an email or a phone call. Oh, Patricia, brilliant idea. Ask them, could you send an email to my boss, just telling him that I actually got him done. And yes, people do appreciate being asked for help. They really genuinely do. Give them a compliment. Let them know what they've done to help you. Let them know what they did. And Gene said, International Scrum Institute, CSM certificate, $45. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Catherine nailed it. Yeah, the CSM cert is just there for the sake of being able to put it after your name. The real challenge is actually being that person. And Mary, I'm going to leave it on Mary because Mary actually just came up with a genius idea. Write articles on LinkedIn. It promotes you. It allows you to create cogent thought, and it puts you in the ballpark of, hey, I'm here. That's really important. Matt, I know we're up against the clock, so I'll pass it back to you. Caught him
Yes,
off
sir.
guard.
Well, we can't thank you enough, Mr. Pritchard. A great way to start the day off. You always bring the energy, so we appreciate it, and look forward to having you again in the coming program year. So a virtual round of applause for all the seeds you planted today. And this presentation will be on the YouTube channel this evening. If anyone wants to share with their colleagues, family, friends, I think it applies to a lot. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day.